Oormi graduated from Kamla Raheja Vidyanidhi Institute of Architecture and Environmental Studies, Mumbai University. Her design thesis on burning ghats of Benares was awarded honorable mention by NCPA Mumbai. She completed her postgraduation in urban design from University of Texas, Austin, USA. Her expertise lies in large-scale planning and urban design projects. She has worked extensively with RTKL in USA. In addition to being a planner, she is a LEED 2.1 AP and a qualified Terry Griha trainer. She heads the Planning and Environment Studio and is active in experimenting with ideas of sustainability on various scales. She has been a visiting faculty for architectural design, design dissertation, architectural theory, and planning studio at Rachna Sansad College of Architecture and IES School of Architecture, Mumbai.
Marzban. Marzban graduated from Kamla Raheja Vidyanidhi Institute for Architecture and Environmental Studies, Mumbai University, and completed his MArch from University of Oregon, USA. He did his specialization in exhibition design and lighting. He has extensive work experience in India and USA and heads the architecture and interior studio at MNO. He has introduced a hands-on workshop studio which experiments with innovative materials and their application. Marzban's passion lies in exploring Waldorf's tenors education and crochet handwork. He has been a visiting faculty for architectural design and design dissertation at Rachna Sansad College of Architecture, AOA, Prabhadevi, Mumbai. Oormi and Marzban, it's been a couple of years since we studied in the same class, under the same roof in college, and bumped in, I think, along the way a couple of times. So nice to see both of you here. Welcome to this little series of chats that I'm putting together called I Am Possible and SMAART. The idea is to invite your perspective on this topic of inclusivity and how we can create an inclusive environment, which is also empathetic.
For our invite point, we decided to start traveling, see an alternative way of living life, and for the past, what we thought was going to be 6 months has ended up as a 3-year journey, roaming all over India. In between, the pandemic hit, and the idea was to drive to Iran, but got limited to India.
So you're a pandemic traveler. I think that's a sufficient tagline for the two of you. I've never seen or heard of anybody taking off during the pandemic the way that you both have. Yeah, I bumped into you in Vizag where I was staying. You guys landed up right
right at your doorstep.
Yes, that was such an amazing surprise, and I think you'll met so many of the batchmates, right? That was amazing. Yeah. So how was your experience on the road during those tough times?
I think this was a blessing in disguise. I think we have found our calling, this entire idea of a nomadic way of living. I think this entire journey really opened our eyes to how the rest of the country lives. And there are so many different ways of living. It's not just the way we urbanites live. And there are so many different and sustainable and complete ways of living. So when we talk about inclusivity, it goes way beyond any kind of boundaries that we have heard about in the cities. Whether it is economic barriers, religious barriers, physical barriers, any kind of barriers, and people have found out ways of living inclusively. I think as urbanites, we have a long way to go, and we need to venture out more and understand how to expand our universes within our own cities.
Are we hinting that we are more in silos here in the cities than we are back in our non-urban areas? Is that what you're trying to say with me? Or
yeah, because there are so many silos being formed in an urban environment. Now if you go to any of the schools where the kids are studying, it's not just the broad physical or the mental challenges that many kids face. You have ADHD, which almost 90% of the kids are kind of diagnosed with, and dyslexia. I mean, the spectrum is just widening. I mean, I don't even believe that spectrum is valid, because all the spectrum does is it kind of
categorizes. It
categorizes, forms compartments, forms borders, and takes us away from the idea of normalcy. So what is normalcy? There's nobody, none of us are normal.
What triggered you guys to explore? And I'm only thinking that exploration was because there was there were a lot of unmet answers, right? It must have come from some sense of unrest and I would say, not be able to, get complacent and settled in a place, which is what takes a person out of their roots and gets them going. You really need to have that drive, right?
Post facto, what we see now is, when you live in an urban environment, all of us are working towards getting somewhere,
Right.
trying to achieve something that we are not, and fill in that gap that is, there's a void which we're trying to fill. And most of us try and fill that through capitalism or consumerism. Right? It's like a whirlpool spiral where as you go towards the apex, you're going faster and faster and in smaller circles until you reach a point where there's no point of no escape. As we worked our way towards a normal life, having married, having children, setting up practice, doing well, winning awards, the question always was what next. And as soon as you reach that goal, then the satisfaction of getting that goal gets nullified. And you have to set a higher goal and a higher goal and at some point you realize, do you really want to go down that path? And you could do that for next 20-30 years before your limbs and your body doesn't cope up with it, or let's see what else. And that's how the whole journey started. Once you step out, you come to this open dark matter space where everything is free flowing, stationary, at peace, at equal gravity, and you can effortlessly navigate.
This is a huge sign of inclusivity, right?
Yeah.
Half of us are excluding all of this from our lives because we feel that it might cause us discomfort, unrest, cause us to shift out of our comfort zone, right?
Yeah.
But what you all have done is you all have gone out and included all of this and made this a parcel of your life, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure it would have caused physical adaptation, mental adaptation every time you switched up, from one place to another, whether it was within the country or across the border or wherever you went, right?
Yeah.
That whole sense of adaptiveness itself is getting yourself included in your environment wherever you go. And I think that is what, if I'm understanding you rightly, is what is missing in the urban environment, because we don't explore at all. So somewhere that sense of including the environment doesn't come in because you're just leading a very mechanical life and, it's all about brass tacks, right? How did you find the rest of the country? Just because I've not seen it, and I would rather not dare to go out and explore, because even if I have to go out, with Kia to a park, I have to go and do a recce myself and then come back and take her. That's how it works for me.
I think the country has a long way to go, purely because the infrastructure that is required is not in place. But our cities and our towns and our villages have a long way to go in terms of including a lot of different kind of ways of living. So even through our urban design and architectural practices, we have been trying to address all kinds of inclusivity, but where do you start? Like there's not even a base to start. You have to start from scratch. Right. We don't have a basic policy in place.
No,
we don't have basic rights in place. Rights to live for various kinds of people. It's not. Yeah, there's no acknowledgement that such disabilities or such challenges even exist. So those.
Now what is happening is that the population is getting more known. I guess the awareness is increasing to some extent. Everybody is trying to come out. There is a little bit of voice everywhere, unlike how it was in the olden days where somebody who was a senior person in the family would remain holed up in their room, or a child who's not able to work is kept holed up in their family homes. At least now people are trying to come out, and there is some amount of visibility that we get, right? And that's only because it's too claustrophobic otherwise. When I was asking you this whole urban-rural divide when it comes to inclusivity, did you find a mental barrier there as well, or how are the people in the non-urban locations? Do they freely accept people with challenges or anybody who is differently able?
Handicapped people are abnormal because we set standards for ourselves as individuals, what we can do, right? And that is limited. Okay, but we've seen a lot of people who are differently able to are much more sensitive to a lot of other things that normal people aren't, and that's where the strength lies. Whether it could be lending a ear for somebody to listen, yeah, right, or it could be managing livestock or watering plants, right? Things that normal people do not see, these people are able to see and find, and that's very rare. So actually, it's an asset for every town or village to have somebody who can take care of the whole village in that sense. And then there's a sense of belonging that that person provides to the village, and it's a symbiotic relationship. So calling them handicap is just based on what you are or where you are with your limitations.
People who have grown up with the disabilities, they are very easily accepted because they have been a part of the entire community. But when a child is born with a disability or any kind of abnormal ways, so-called abnormals, so that maybe is not because of the lack of information, the lack of awareness. It is not accepted easily. There are no health facilities in the non-urban areas for continual, kind of a feedback to the monitoring, feedback, or any kind of medical attention that the child might need, because emotionally the acceptance of any differently abled person is much more in a non-urban area. So there is a different framework which forms a social network of people themselves take care of those people. There is an animal bonding also, there is an animal relationship, there is a nature which is around, which helps them to, there are different ways of expression in non-urban areas. So emotionally they are easily accepted, but at the same time the physical needs that are required are not there. The infrastructure is not there.
Basically, it's lacking all over the place, whether it is here or inside the country, wherever you go. Because of the lack of standards, I guess that will only happen once the government steps in and says that, okay, we need to have at least these basic standards everywhere. Whether it is a grade A developer in a nice posh location of a city who understands this, or it is nobody, right? It is public buildings, schools, educational institutions, medical institutions, for heaven's sake. They don't have their their design in place where movement is addressed, movement of everyone, okay, whether a person is able or not so able. What has been your takeaway from this 3-year role that you all have been? I'm sure that exploration must have helped you sum up a few things, right? You must have seen enough than probably anybody can see in those 3 years.
If you see a world from their perspective, we are the ones who are limited. So I think it's time to recognize that also. Instead of creating a world for them to be normal, it's important to see what are their strengths and be able to tap into that and be able to utilize that for
and change ourselves.
Back to this beautiful correlation somebody drew up, saying that these 3 kids who are trying to look over a wall, and all the 3 kids are of different heights. So how are you going to ensure that all the 3 kids actually look over the wall, if they want to see something beautiful on the other side? Give them a pedestal, right? And you're not going to tell the short child that, sorry, this is not for you, but you're just going to make that child stand up on a stool and help them see. I think it's all about, enabling more than disabling, right? Because you disable somebody, right? And you qualify that person as disabled and exclusive to the environment, and then that person is left to fend for themselves, right? Whether it is education, it is treatment, it is healthcare, it is movement. We are looking for some sort of an framework, right? Which is like, already there's a problem, but now we have to name that problem, and we say, okay, you know what, we don't have a framework, so we can't give a solution. But the solution actually lies in just giving that stool to that little child who's short and who's not able to see over the wall. For that, you don't really need a system. You don't need some, top mayor of the city or the, village to come
Correct.
and do that. It actually depends on how each of us as individuals can do a bit. What has been your key takeaway? I'm very interested because, there are very few people I look up to, and you guys are one of them. Okay? You are one couple I envy, because if I had any choice of a life that I would lead, it would be just out of a backpack, to put a stop to whatever you were doing and saying that, okay, let's get up and move, takes a brilliant amount of courage. So what did you take away from the 3 years?
What traveling aids you with is uh, makes you be like water. Wherever you find a path, you flow down that way because there's no other way. You can't go against gravity, right? And in that process, you lose your will, to self-navigate. It forces you to eat whatever you find, sleep wherever you need to. Sometimes you make peace with mosquitoes, sometimes it's oily food, sometimes it's just salads. You make peace with whatever is available, the language barriers at times. So what is in front of you, embrace that.
Has it made you guys more empathetic?
Yeah, I think it makes you very humble because when you see so many different people doing so many different things, it's like there is you are in no place to judge anyone. Everybody is in their own journey. Everybody is in their own path. And this high throne that we sit on generally, judging other people, you don't want to do that, because suddenly an entire world has opened up where people have gone so far and so beyond to places that you did not know that it existed. You realize that you don't need much to live with.
Absolutely.
So
happiness is a thought. If you can hold on to it, you're there longer. As soon as you lose it, it's not there. It has nothing to do with what you have or what you don't have.
State of mind, absolutely. Having now a son in your life and his future, are you leaving him like a free-flowing river, or are you going to tell him you got to do this and you got to do that? What kind of parents has this resulted in?
I don't think with children you need to provide them with anything but birth and make sure they are alive. The only advantage you have over a child is that you've got a 20 or 30 years more on this planet. As compared to life of human beings on this planet, that's negligible or nothing. And I think most of the any form of life knows what it needs or doesn't need and figures its way out, makes mistakes, falls down, stands up. So you don't need to teach a child anything, right? They self-learn. You just need to be there to make sure it survives to the fall. That's it.
Absolutely. Bounces back.
I think we spend a lot of our energy and our resources in streamlining something that doesn't need to be streamlined. And we do not streamline things that need to be streamlined. So we just need to give a very loving atmosphere around, and the child finds his or her own way in the world. And I think these 3 years of not educating Arzan was the best thing that we ever did.
I'm sure he's got the best education already. Tell me, in terms of various built environments, did you all explore different types of architecture?
These professional tags are very urban tags.
Yeah, absolutely.
And most human beings in any of the non-urban environments can do everything.
Yeah.
You can be a plumber, a carpenter, a farmer, a mason,
all in
a
one.
mother, a cook, a sweeper, you name it. As in, like, it's very seldom that you'll see somebody employing somebody else to do something.
Yeah, I mean, people, that is what Roti Kapda Makan was all about. That those are the 3 basic things that you need to know how to do on your own.
Correct.
And most of the people know how to do it. It's just that over the period of years, due to these professional silos, that we have alienated these basic skills from everyone. That is what education does. It creates inequalities.
So now, bringing myself very unwantingly to the last question, what plans next? What kind of a life are we going to lead from here? Are we going to look forward to the next nomadic stint, or settle down, do some architecture, or do what? But that's the question. If I were you, I would not be able to settle down.
It was very difficult for us to also commit. We had this whole idea, that commitment phobia of settling down in one place. But we saw that Arzan enjoys now at this age. Now he's 11. He enjoys company of his own peers. So we have decided to settle down for 5 years and also put into practice what we have seen throughout the country. We learned different kinds of farming throughout our journey. So we are going to be, so permaculture, biodynamic farming, organic farming, different kinds. So now we have a piece of land over here. We are renting it, and we are going to do some farming stint over here.
If you need any tilling help, I'm always available. And if it's gold, I can just come anytime.
Right after the video.
Like you rightly said, Marzban, ये सब रोटी कपड़ा मकान के चक्कर में हम लोग निकल जाते हैं, right? Office जाना है, कमाना है, पैसे चाहिए, this, that. And then you realize that, at the end of the day, what was all of that worth it? Because life can throw a sort of a yorker at you, right? And you don't know how to face it. So then what was all that preparation, sacrifice, and giving up, what you really like doing for?
We were always somebody who would always have a 1-year plan and a 5-year plan, right? And now when you say what's next, I'll say let's see tomorrow.
I'm so super proud of you. I can't even tell you. It takes literally a lot of guts to do what you guys are doing. And we need more role models like this, actually. I mean, I'm tired of actually telling people that there is life beyond a plan, right? There is life. It's been my 4th year without earning a professional salary, but I'm happy. I'm cooking meals. I'm exploring things I do with my daughters. But for me, it's all within the environment. It's within the closed space. I would love to get out there and explore the world, only if it was a little more conducive. I'm still talking to all of you and trying to see how, maybe another 2 people can be informed about what shouldn't be done in their lives, so that they don't land up getting into a ditch. Genetic disorders are concerned. They're not really rare anymore. And I think we need to talk. We honestly just have to talk. We just have to tell each other that, what, it's a very simple thing. You don't want to be, crowdfunding or crowdsourcing for a treatment when you can easily avoid it. It just requires one pre-screening test, for example. Sort of now dedicated myself to this whole cause of spreading awareness, and thanks to the community that we are all in, I guess there's some mission. At least ऐसे खाली हाथ बैठे नहीं रहना है.
I think we are quite inspired by what you are doing. I mean, I cannot imagine how.
Neither can I, Oormi. It's unbelievable. I'll tell you, because till the time the approved, so-called approved cures came out, you are like Marzban was saying, you resign to fate. You let it free flow, right? You enjoy the moment, and you say that, okay, kal kisne dekha hai, right? You might just go out of the house and trying to cross the road. You might still come under that bus, right? So why worry? That used to be the philosophy of life. Now it's become, I don't know whether it is materialism of sorts, but you have this hope in form of a little bottle of medicine, which is supposed to arrest a disease that can take your child away. So that itself is so humongous that na chate hue bhi you can't resist yourself from trying to save your child, because I think it's difficult for a mother to see that, the debilitating condition of the child, right? I mean, I wish it wasn't true, but I've seen it in front of my eyes. So it's a very torn position. Trust me, it's like getting torn between live in the moment, or should I live for the future, a better future, healthier future for the child. But given a choice, if health is on your side, which I think it always should be, I don't think any human being should take that for granted. Try to be healthy, and ensure that is built as a foundation, and then bindas raho. Do exactly what your heart wants you to do, without compromising on a single unfulfilled wish. Thank you so much for joining me. And I will always be a call away if you need me to come and till that land.
Sure.
Okay, free labor. So anytime, and I'll see you in Goa very soon.
Yes.
Soon.
Always.
Okay, don't go anywhere.